we're going to do a quick burnout extra while we're rebuilding Tarpey's 350 for his Chevy Camaro of 1976. So, what do you like best about your Camaro?
The engine.
Listen, I would honestly agree. How much money and nice clean parts you're chucking at this thing?
Like, seriously though, I've spent more on the engine than the car itself.
Yeah.
Like,
what about the trans?
what about the trans?
Yeah, how much money have you spent on the trans?
$20?
Really?
I mean, between,
gasket?
yeah, so I spent money on the gasket, and then I spent money on an O-ring for the speedometer cable, because it was leaking trans fluid there. I think that's it. I mean, we're not counting any of the gunk that we sprayed on it.
Right.
Anything like that. I don't think I've ordered anything else for it.
If you couldn't say engine, what would be your favorite part of the car?
I mean, honestly, the body. Like, that's kind of a cheat, I would say.
I mean, most people like the body style.
Exactly.
Of their dream
Most
car,
people buy their car because of the body, right?
Yeah.
So, specific feature that I like about the car. Actually, something that I learned recently. I've always wondered how the radio works in my car. There's a built-in antenna on the windshield.
Oh, is that
There's
that
no
black
windshield
box?
right now. No, I don't think that black box is that.
Oh.
There's literally a wire coming down, and then it just sticks out at the bottom of the windshield. We'll see it on Monday when we pick it up.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, a super cool feature for a 1976 car. They built the antenna for the radio into the windshield, and you just connect one little wire, and then you have a car that has a radio with no antenna, basically. And that's mind-blowing for me.
Why couldn't they do that in 2019, 2020?
Right? I mean, they have moved towards it. Like, they've done, like, little fins on the top of cars, you know, and a couple other methods, too. But I'm just like, how did they do that in 1976? That's crazy.
What's your least favorite thing about the car?
So what's my least favorite feature on my car? My car specifically, the trunk lid is a disaster. It is not level, so it doesn't seal properly, and so water gets in it all the time, which is not fun. But other than that, my least favorite feature of the car, if I'm being honest, actually, my steering wheel. I'm not a fan of the steering wheel that I have. It's the stock steering wheel, and I don't know if it stock came with that weird leather cover on it.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I hate that leather cover. It's gross. It's sticky underneath. I don't like it. That's all I have to say about the steering wheel.
What about your one-wheel drive?
That's annoying. Yeah.
I mean, that could be easily fixed in the grand scheme of things, but...
Yeah, it could. There are theoretically benefits to it, you know? That's why they designed cars like that. But in terms of my use for the car, I hate the fact that it has an open differential. What are your favorite and least favorite? Obviously, you haven't spent quite as much time in the car as me, but I've also barely spent any time actually driving the car. What are your least favorite and favorite features?
I actually really don't like the big doors.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. The doors are really poorly designed because they are just so huge, but they are so heavy. So they really wear out your door hinges, and they're just really hard to work with. I
don't think it's the weight of the doors though. I think it's the length of the doors.
Yeah, well,
because other cars have just as heavy doors, but they're more like straight up.
I mean,
and so it's easier to install, uninstall.
This body style is notorious for having really heavy doors.
Yeah.
So they're.
But so isn't a couple others from that era.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're just like I said, they're notorious for it. They're a little bit worse than everybody else, basically. Yeah, and when I'm looking at the car without the fenders on, the long doors do look weird.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the front grille. I think the other years of Camaros, which I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but I think the other years of Camaros look sharper from the front. I think the end really didn't, like the rear of the car didn't really change much as far as looks.
Yeah. The biggest changes were definitely in the front end.
Yeah. But I honestly believe that, I mean, the early ones to me are always cool, but I think that there's a couple other years besides 76 that have a cooler front clip, front end, whatever you want to call it, the whole kit and caboodle. I think that is cooler on other years.
Interesting.
For sure.
So my opinion on that is the early 70s, the front grille is like particularly round.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot rounder and less sharp like that. It's less triangular, less cool looking.
Pointed, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that rounded look. But the later years, like going towards the 80s, I think that they do keep that look and get a little bit sharper as well. And so I would agree that my actual dream car was the 81, actually. But the 76 is so damn close to it that I rolled with it.
Now, do most of the parts that fit a 76 fit an 81?
In a lot of terms, yeah.
Okay.
They did change, like the interior changed a good bit, but like all the mechanical stuff basically is very similar.
And then what do I really like about the car? I mean, this is
Nothing.
No, this is the case with a lot of old cars, but like, I like how like when we were riding, you know how you, like not a pothole, but like you hit one of those bumps that like brings a whole car? Yeah, it just kind of like floats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
that was
just,
awesome.
I did one too many bolts.
It was kind of like when we drove that's a little bit more of a boat car, but when we drove the Pontiac,
Yeah.
like dude, that thing, you hit a little dip in the road,
Yeah,
you just
they're
settle.
so heavy that
Yeah.
those cars bounce.
I think that's
And
the
it's just
cool
the
part.
nature of like older, worn out suspension parts.
Yeah.
But that they are fun to ride in.
That would be one thing I like. And then another thing I'd say I'd like is I'd say the like stance you have, I guess is the best time, but in the car.
Yeah.
Like how you're sitting in the car.
Interesting.
Just as a driver, your stance is cooler in this car than some of the other ones I've seen.
Huh.
Like some of them are like, especially an old, like a Bel Air or something.
Yeah. Yeah, those cars I feel like just the doors are really
uncomfortable.
tall. You know, like I
Yeah.
feel like you sit like I feel like you look like a kid in those cars.
Yeah. But still, I mean, my image of their interior is just like old hay inside. Where this,
Yeah.
like, not only do you have pretty sweet looking interior, but like it's comfortable enough, like you feel the ride as if you would in like a modern Corvette or something.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a Corvette guy, and I think
You're not a Corvette
yeah,
guy.
no.
That is so true.
But yeah, those would probably be my two favorite things: the ride and the actual driving part of the ride.
Actually, another thing that I'm not crazy about are the mirrors.
Yeah.
The side view mirrors are so small you just like can't see anything on them.
You know
It's
the
like-
little MG mirrors?
Yeah.
You should honestly just buy those and throw them on the car.
But yeah, it's almost like there's no point in having them on there because you just can barely see anything. But like at the same time, you don't want huge mirrors sticking out because that doesn't look cool. So I get why they did it.
Alright, two final questions for you.
Okay.
If you were to throw any other engine in the car, what would it be?
Probably the Chevy 400, just because it's, you know, very similar. They did come, you know, in this time period, but it gets you more power.
And why is it called the banana peel?
So if you didn't make it to the end of episode 5 where this car made its debut, in my post-episode monologue outro, I dubbed the car the Banana Peel, hence the shirt. Basically, the thought process there was that the car had a yellow hood, which I actually really like. I think it's super funny. And as we mentioned earlier, it has an open differential, so it does a one-wheel peel when you're doing burnouts. Not particularly cool, not super badass.
One wheel peel, dude. I like that alliteration.
So
One wheel peel.
basically here on the Burnout Show, we went from having no cars that did burnouts to a car that does half a burnout. And then the next car will...
Full burnout.
Well, the one-wheel peel, man, the next car will get... That one will do a full burnout. We're taking baby steps, you know?
Gotta work up to it.
But yeah, so the banana peel, one-wheel peel, yellow car. That was the thought
The
process.
shirts look sick though.
The shirts are awesome. If you...
Yours is already dirty.
I know. The shirts are awesome. If you want to get one, you can check them out in our merch store. There'll be a link in the description, or you can go to www.burnoutshow.com.
Check it out. They're not that expensive.
No.
It's only the shipping is where we get you.
No,
you'll be able to afford it.
You'll be able to afford it. And still have dinner.
Yeah.